What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL show. You got Chris and Ray, and today we are going to be going through the film of Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. He is 22 years old, going to be 23 on draft day. Everybody knows him, right? He played 2 years at Jackson State, 2 years at Colorado. He's a big name. He's Deion's son. He had 51 big-time throws over the last 2 years, only 16 turnover-worthy plays, an ADOT of 8.1, a pressure-to-sack rate of 20.9, and his time to throw went from 3 this year, and that was up from 2.89 in previous years. So those are just some high-level information on Shedeur. Again, a 4-year starter, which is something I really like to see. But like I said, today we're going to be doing a film breakdown, and I want to jump right into it. So let's go ahead and do that. Sorry for seeing this, but we're going to do it for the beginning. All right, so we hear a lot about Shedeur having bad legs, right? And I think it's a bit overstated. And I wanted to show, because it was at the beginning of the game, a play where I thought his legs looked pretty good, right? So it's a play action here. He drops back. It looks like everybody's basically covered, right? All top to bottom. Everybody's at least covered in a zone. Maybe he can fit one of these in there if he really rifles it, but it's not going to really be anything spectacular. So he scrambles out, and again, it's not anything special. That's not 4.2 speed. It's probably not even 4.5 speed at this point, but it's competent, right? And he gets more than he would have gotten if he had just thrown the ball to one of those kind of curl routes, right? So I kind of compare his running ability to Aaron Rodgers-esque, where Aaron Rodgers was never one of the best runners in the NFL, but he was always competent. So that's something I just wanted to start off with. Okay. Another thing we always hear about Shedeur is that he has a poor O-line. But watch this play here, and this is a distinction I want people to start to make, right? What is the difference? Is it really the O-line? Is it some on him? And a part of me kind of feels like some of it's on him. So if you look at this here, yes, there was a guy screaming, but there's a running back to step up and make the block. Running back doesn't really do a great job, but Shedeur steps up, and instead of like right here, right, he steps up, and if you're looking at this moment, it looks like number 10 with his back to us at the top of the screen there is open, right? That's NFL open. We talk about NFL open, and Shedeur doesn't just rip it in there. There's open field ahead of him. There's also another crosser at the top of the screen coming in here. He doesn't rip it to him either. Instead, he's like, I'm going to try to run, and he creates chaos for himself. So I'm playing this in slow-mo. We could speed it up at this point. But, now he's looking to make a throw, and then he kind of gets thrown out of bounds. It's aggressive, should have been a flag. But to me, it's like you're putting an onus on your offensive line by not making quick decisions like you should. Time to throw, I think, is something you're going to probably touch on, Ray, because I know you've said it about him. But something I wanted to point out early. Okay, another thing spoken about earlier this offseason by us is that I don't really like his back pedal, right? When you were receiving the ball as a quarterback, you're supposed to drop back. And I understand right here he's in shotgun, but why are you backpedaling? Right? Like, why are you backpedaling? I don't think Shedeur has the arm to not be in a throwing position when he throws the football. Okay. So that's something I really don't like. And it's something I saw in his game, saw it in Cam Ward's, but the difference between Shedeur and Cam Ward is the level of kind of push they could get with the football, right? How quickly are they able to release it out of their hand and with what velocity? All right. So his shoulders are currently square. And if you look at the top of your screen here, if you're anticipating the slot receiver on the top of your screen is moving towards a zone that looks like it'll be open right here, right? If he had thrown this ball, that's open, right? That is a full placement to put that ball. And then all of a sudden you waited a little bit, that safety is going to start coming down. Now you also are dropping back into pressure, and you created, again, an issue for your offensive line, and you don't have the legs to get out of a situation like that easily and to make it a positive outcome. So Shedeur, I went into this thinking this is going to be one of the best decision makers we have. And I saw him hold on to the ball a little too long, a little too often. So something that definitely concerned me. Okay, so another one here. Let's go ahead and let it play. I think, quickly seeing a man coverage with no deep safety, right? You can see it here. Everybody's lined up. There's nobody back there, just the ref who's looking like he's about to make a tackle. But Shedeur notices it quick, and he says, all right, let's go. Free play. I'm going to get it. So that's the part about Shedeur that I like, right? Pre-snap, there was some intelligence that had to go into that decision, right? He saw the opportunity. He knew what his guy was going to be doing. But also, like, that's a 40, 50-yard ball in the air off of kind of like your back foot with not a lot of like push into it, right, with a guy screaming in your face. So let's just watch it one more time, right? Somebody's screaming in his face, he just kind of launches it. It's a really good throw. It's a really, really good throw. So I like that, right? We're going to watch it really quick from this one. Guy screaming in your face. We're just going to launch that. Perfect placement, gets the ball out. Big, big first down for sure. All right, so here again, watch the underneath, right? The top of the triangle's coming in here, and he is wide open, and Shedeur sees it, but for some reason he says, I'm not taking what the defense is giving me. I want to try to take a shot, right? Something we knocked Will Levis, JK, Jackson Dart.
Oh my gosh.
We knocked Jackson Dart for it, but right here, that's really open, right? That's a lot of space, and you could probably get 10 yards out of this. But instead, again, he's backpedaling, and look at that throwing platform. Both of his feet are square to the line of scrimmage. He's not stepping into his throw, and he's just kind of like launch, right? Launch again. The guy is open, and he actually puts the ball in decent position, but it's also like it's a hospital ball, right? This safety could kill your receiver by doing that. So that's definitely a concern of mine. Again, it's like not taking the easy things is something that is going to bother me. This one here, just another example of a situation where your offensive line does everything right for you. So what do you do when your offense has things right for you? Oh, I backpedaled into pressure again, right? I didn't step up into a clean pocket. I stepped into the rushing edge rusher's lane. Luckily, I get out of it, but what do I do with it then, right? We saw Cam Ward make teams, punish teams when those situations occurred. Doesn't happen there for Shedeur. Okay, so RPO on this play, or, a little play action, and let's find space because that bull rusher is coming in hot in the pocket. The pocket's essentially collapsed, and I see Travis Hunter playing around, making dudes miss, and I'm going to buy him a little time, and I'm going to fit that ball in there. That's a really nice play, and that's the accuracy that we talk about with Shedeur that we really like. Love to see plays like that, and I love him trusting his big-time receiver in Travis Hunter. They obviously go way back. So another example of play action, and this one, I don't know what he was thinking, right? So I understand you trust your receivers, and you got a lot of rapport with these guys. Quick decision here, but the guy's not open. The corner's in perfect position on the inside hip and ready to break on the ball. You also have a safety coming down hard on this. You launch this ball behind your receiver. I just don't know who you're throwing the ball to, right? You're supposed to be the decision maker of this draft, right? You're the guy that we're supposed to say, I'm comfortable taking you because you're an elite decision maker, and I just didn't see it enough. Okay, here we go. Open crosser, right? So open crosser again underneath. I like it there. I would fit that ball in there. Okay, we're gonna delay, and we're gonna throw the ball because we want to take a shot. And luckily, Travis Hunter's your teammate, right? And he's the best athlete college football seen in at least 5 years. And I'm going to launch this ball again. Not great placement. If you look, Travis Hunter here has 2 steps on his receiver, right? So if you lead him out in front, he could keep running with this, but instead he has to go up and try to make a difficult catch, and he does. But it's not something you did to elevate this play, right? I would actually give you a negative grade if I was the person watching this and grading that play, because you didn't give your receiver like a fair chance at that catch and run like you should have, considering the lead that he had. Okay, here we go. This one here, just another quick throw to Hunter, and potentially another hospital ball, right? I love the quick decision-making. I love trusting your best receiver. I love, again, you saw that there was not a safety sitting on top, right? Looks like the safety is very shallow on this. So you're saying, okay, Travis Hunter is going to beat this guy. Sure, go for it. We're going to take a risk. We're going to throw it up. And again, look where Travis Hunter is here. He's not really winning this route. The ball he has to fight back to, and he does, makes an unbelievable catch. You get a touchdown on the stat sheet. But what did you do to elevate this play? Honestly, nothing, right? Like, yes, you gave him an opportunity, but I need to see more. Okay, Ray, I think after this, just showing it at the other angle, I'm going to hand it to you, and you're going to kind of show me what I got right and what I got wrong.
Yeah, all right. Happy to take the handoff here. So, all right, so we're going to just run it here now for my portion of this Shedeur breakdown. So, again, you all know the rules, way more than 5 plays every single time, obviously. For my first play, I think I wrote down in my notes, don't remember. So we're we're just gonna go
Awesome.
through this live and see what we get here. So okay, quick drop back here.
Oh, that was my play. That's
That's
why.
your play. I was like, yeah, wait a minute, that's not. I did Kansas. I was like, this ain't
That's
Kansas.
on me,
What?
buddy.
You
That's
had
on me.
another play to go. I was like, yeah, wait
This
a minute. I
this
really
was
don't
the other
remember this play, Chris.
This was the other hospital ball. So again, throws it high, doesn't lead his receiver. Hunter has to go up for it, hitting the ribs. It's just, yeah, okay. More of the same. Go ahead. It's all you.
Yeah, that was a nice tough play by Hunter. So I'm going to break down a few plays from Kansas for Shedeur Sanders here. We're just going to jump right into it, and you're going to start noticing trends. You probably already noticed the trends, right? That's sort of the rule here. So starting off again, we don't exchange notes. It's Shedeur Sanders just extending plays with his legs. So if you're not disciplined in your rush lanes, he's going to move his feet and pick up a first down. So he's not going to destroy you with his legs. He's not a true dual threat in that sense of the word. But if you're disciplined in your rush lanes and he's got an open lane on third down against man coverage, he's going to take that green grass, get chunks of yards, and pick up first downs. And that's what he does here. And does a pretty decent job of actually protecting himself too. While he doesn't slide, you see him cover the ball. He's kind of shielding his torso a bit there. So he understands the body mechanics there when running the football and how to protect himself from taking big hits for the most part, which we'll get into a bit here. So here we're going to just run this play here. And I think he reads man to the boundary and doesn't like it at the top of your screen. Right at this break, you do see that receiver on the in cut at the top of your screen is open. He's already come off of that. I think when he reads the initial switch there, he didn't like that look. So he immediately goes back to the field, and you're going to see the receiver fall down at the bottom of your screen. Chris's little avatar is actually in the way, but this receiver at the bottom of the screen had a comeback here and actually slips and falls down. So now Shedeur has to come off of that, buy some time within the pocket, stay in a good posture, and then complete a pass. So we're going to see it from the end zone angle again. And just watch how quick he comes off that first read there, looks back to the field. That's where the receiver falls down. And then from here, he's going to navigate traffic, but you see his eyes are downfield the entire time. His head is up. When we talked about Cam Ward, we noticed that, again, he was just in the pocket. He was kind of holding, tucking the ball at times and wasn't always in that throwing posture that Sanders was there. Yep, picks up the first down. Great play there. And again, that throwing posture in the pocket makes a difference. That's some NFL type stuff right there. So we're going to go to play 3 here. And here's the flip side of that coin, if you will. So again, he's going to navigate the pocket really well here to an extent. Right? Okay, it's not there. He steps up and then steps out to buy himself some more time to the field. Kind of has that comeback there, maybe towards the sideline, but defender's driving on it. I can see why he doesn't love it. So then at this point, if it's not there and you've rolled out, just throw it away. You obviously can't throw it all the way across the field to the top of your screen there. Just heave this out of bounds. Instead, the competitiveness, whatever you want to call it, he navigates back towards the middle of the field, then steps up again to make a throw. But look at the hit he takes. So first off, obviously when you scramble like that, you're not able to put a lot behind the throw. So he short hops the throw. But the hit he takes at the end of this, we could just let this run from the end zone angle again. Good maneuvering here. Okay, you don't like it, throw it away. Instead, he comes back into the pocket here, into harm's way, and then just watch the hit he takes. You don't want your quarterback taking that hit at any level of football, but especially in the NFL. I had to double take to make sure that he didn't miss the rest of this game and that I could continue using this tape for some breakdown here. But again, you don't want him taking that hit. So I'm glad he got up. Great. But in the NFL, once you scramble and escape like that, unless this is a Hail Mary at the end of the game, that's one you just throw away. You don't put yourself back in harm's way. The risk reward calculus is just not there. That's a part of his game that's going to have to be a bit refined because, again, when he's running and scrambling, he does a good job protecting himself, but that was obviously not the case there. That is not the position you ever want to see your quarterback in. So we could just file that away and then head on to the next play here. Which we get into now some of Shedeur's processing here. And I like this. This is vintage Shedeur Sanders. And he's just going to float it up with some touch towards the sideline. I like this here. If you could run it back a little bit here, Chris, as he's releasing the throw here, this flat defender at the top of your screen here at about the 37, 38 yard line, you can let it run here. there's that thought that perhaps that guy, again, if he's taught well, he's going to get some depth, right? The defender right there at the 38, he doesn't. But in the event he did, Shedeur floats this ball right to the sideline, right to the first down marker where only his receiver can get it to the outside. So if you let it run, and then when we see it from the end zone angle, I mean, this is perfect placement. It's a completed catch right at the first down marker. That's Shedeur's specialty. That's what he can really hang his hat on more than anyone else in this class. I mean, just look at that throw to the outside to that receiver. Great location. Defender had no chance of stopping that. And if there was an underneath defender cutting underneath that ball, it still would have been completed. So he really did account for all possible scenarios there, which is what I love to see when it comes to Shedeur's ball placement and touch. That's something that he really does excel at. And so this play, you might have a different takeaway on it, Chris, than I do. Actually, it's 2 plays from now. So we're just going to run this one again. This is a blitz beater here, which again talks about his processing. So he's calm. He knows the blitz is coming. He has the slide protection to the right from his offensive line. We're going to watch it from this angle here. So again, line slides to the right. So he knows the blitz is picked up. So he stays in the pocket, waits for that dig to come across his window, and then delivers the ball to Travis Hunter for some yak. So again, that's just, it seems kind of, just ho-hum when you're watching it on the TV copy, but that's some high-level pre-snap processing, post-snap confirmation, and then execution with the throw and catch there, which, again, great recognition by Shedeur. This is what he does at an NFL level when it comes to processing. Now, this play, Chris, I'm interested to see if you have a different take on it than I do, but I absolutely love it. So we're going to run this here. Again, he's going to step up with some pressure around him, especially from his right side. He steps up and then just delivers this ball up the seam. So, yeah, watch the step up here. Creates a nice window for him to then get rid of this football. Great play by I believe that's a tight end there for the catch. But I love this throw. If you run it back to when he's releasing the ball or even beforehand, this defender here, I'm not sure how quickly you can go back on this, Chris, but this defender here who's now turning to cover this tight end right here. Yep, right here. You see this defender engage with the slot receiver coming across the middle first. So not the seam. He engages with the in cut here, which tells Shedeur that this seam route right here is open. Even though the defender comes off of it, he's now out of phase and chasing that seam route. So there's no way he's going to turn around and make a play on this ball. So Shedeur is going to lay it up away from the middle safety and allow his receiver to make a play. To me, this is high-level real-time processing and quick decision-making with pressure coming from his right side to step up and make this throw. This is high-level stuff from Shedeur Sanders. This is why he is so hyped as part of the top of this draft class for quarterbacks. This is a phenomenal play here. While, yes, it looks like the receiver did have to come back and make a play on the ball, given the pressure and the decision-making behind it, to me, that's a high-level quarterback play, knowing that this defender is out of phase, and the only one who can make a play on this ball, if he keeps it away from the middle safety, is his receiver. Touchdown. This is one of my favorites from Shedeur. I had to show this one here. Again, just reinforcing the process behind his play.
So I think the process is phenomenal. You hit it on the head, and this was a great showing of that, right? The only thing, and this is the thing I keep coming back to, is decision-making and precision were the 2 things that we were supposed to be seeing frequently with Shedeur's film. And while the decision-making is here on this play, I think the placement is poor, right? Like, yes, you got it over the top of that defender's head, sort of, because the tight end makes a phenomenal catch. But I think there's the opportunity that if you throw this over the receiver, tight end, whoever that is he's throwing to, over his shoulder, like lead his shoulder and throw it deeper, he doesn't have to do all this acrobatic stuff. Right here, he has a 1.5 feet, right, on the DB or on the linebacker with the safety coming. You obviously don't want to lead him into the safety, but if you throw it over that back shoulder, there's a lot of separation that could have been had there, and instead it's a really difficult catch. Phenomenal catch, but really difficult. So there's good and bad on this play, and that's kind of what I saw too much of with Shedeur. Here, we'll play this one real quick.
I think that's one of those, if he didn't catch it, the ref would have then thrown the flag for interference too, by the way. But you see it here, and he had some pressure. It's tough to make that precise throw with that pressure here, but it's fine. We'll talk about it. So again here, this play, good process. This is something I think I mentioned during the Cam Ward episode when it comes to Shedeur, the lack of arm angles here to execute simple plays like this. So if you're going to run it back, he's got 2 blockers in front of the back in the flat here. So all he has to do is just do a quick dump off behind the rush, and he's got some room to run after the catch. But it's batted down, and you're going to notice it's that over-the-top motion from Shedeur. He doesn't have those different arm slots that you see from a lot of quarterbacks these days. Obviously, everyone brings up Mahomes and Stafford and so forth, but even Rodgers and just other mid-level quarterbacks, not that Rodgers, well, maybe today he is, but in general, that's becoming an ever-increasingly necessary skill in today's NFL, is those different arm angles to execute plays like this, because if this top receiver here is paying attention, he's got 2 blockers on 2 defenders until that back goes to the safety, who's about 20 yards away. So that's a nice one-on-one open field matchup that you have for your running back there. But he can't get the ball there because he's got that one arm angle. Time and time again, everything is over the top. Doesn't help himself out with those different arm angles, and that's something that's becoming more and more prevalent and necessary in today's NFL. That's not something you see from Shedeur Sanders. So we can just let it run. Again,
well,
the end
I just wanted to say, like,
pass.
Yep. I agree with everything you're saying about the arm angles, but also it's why aren't you taking what the defense is giving you? Your offensive line is doing a good job. If you step up in this pocket, you can hit the running back. You could hit Travis Hunter there, right? There's 2 different throws you can make, but right here, choosing to take this throw, right, while the defender is right there, is just kind of, I just don't love the process, right?
It's a feel thing.
It's a feel thing, but it's also like, again, it's like, if he's my process guy, what was the process there? Like, that process wasn't very good, in my opinion.
I think his process was just numbers. I just think he didn't execute it, because he did have 2-on-2 till the safety. I get the throw. You just have to feel that you can't just loft that over the head of the edge player there that's coming right in the lane. You got to get around him somehow. And that's something I don't see in Shedeur's game. He doesn't have those slots, that just sort of deftness to get around some of those lanes. Is a little robotic in that sense, and that's a worry in the NFL. But we'll keep it going. We got a few more plays left to go here. So when it's man, just yet again, he could chew up yardage on the ground. Defenders have their back to him. Nothing special, but that's what, 8-9 yards, first down. He'll do that every time. You got to stay consistent and disciplined with him in your rush lanes, because he will just chew up yards on the ground. What is this? I think this is 3rd and 8, and now this is a first down. Just, again, defenders with their back turned. He doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have to be any of these other dual threat guys making Sports Center. This is a first down. This is just a first down on the ground, and you'll take that every time.
It's one that I like as well, because nobody is open, right? It was a good decision to start to run the ball here. So that's why I ran it back, just to show how everybody was truly covered. So it is a good decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's not a first read and run guy. No, he will go through his progression and then take off when it's there, which you kind of saw him go from one to the left there, from right to left. But again, here's the flip side of this, and we're going to run this back. And you've seen this before. You could just let it run the whole time. The crossers kind of get picked up here. And okay, now I'm going to try to buy some time in the pocket. But again, once I'm out, don't go back in. I think there was actually a defensive holding here, but then he ends up, I think this is intentional grounding, and it looked like it was offsetting penalties from the coach's tape here. We only have that one angle, but that's again, he missed, or rather fumbled, so to speak, a free play that he had as a result of defensive holding, because he didn't throw the ball away when he could have and picked up a flag of his own. So keep that in mind. And then here we're going to go again, back to processing. This guy can beat a blitz. So he sees the safety rotate to the middle of the field. Deep safety rotate to the middle, which means I have one-on-one on the sideline now with, guess who? Travis Hunter. So if I have Travis Hunter one-on-one down the sideline, I'm going to obviously let him have it. And all I got to do is make sure I don't overthrow him and overcomplicate this thing. So sees him beat, safety rotated to the middle of the field post snap. So I'm just going to lay it up, allow him to make a play on the ball in between 2 defenders, and get a nice, easy touchdown. Sometimes the game of football is very simple. My best player, perhaps the best player in the country, is one-on-one on the outside. I see that safety in the middle, then I'm just going to wait till he breaks free and hit him for the score. So again, that post-snap recognition is phenomenal from Shedeur Sanders here. Here again, I kind of like his ability to sort of go off of routes and not take too many chances here with the ball in the air. So if we run it here, I think this is a blitz with some match coverage behind it. And he sees the defender driving down on the hitch right here. So I get why he kind of goes off of it, even though it might have been there. I think he could have taken the over route here. But maybe he doesn't like that either because he got someone underneath. So that's fine. But he's going to come back to the comeback all the way to the field and then drive the ball. And so you're going to see it here if you let it run. Just great ball placement again to the outside. Good job by the receiver as well. Just high level process in what looks like a standard 9-yard play. I like it. Okay, so with a couple plays left here, getting to the end, just want to again highlight footwork and then the arm talent argument that we've spoken about here and there. So if you let this play run here, again, so about the 30-yard line here, we're just going to let it run real time, and you're going to see him step up in the pocket, release a throw downfield there to the front pylon, and it just kind of floats out of reach. And we could probably see it better from this angle here. Just watch the feet here. You see how he just doesn't step into that throw and just kind of lofts it up there. There's not much behind it. He doesn't have his legs under him when he releases that ball, which is what causes it to sail. Some quarterbacks can get away with really driving the football without their legs under them, so to speak. He doesn't necessarily have that type of arm talent to get away with suboptimal mechanics. So if he does have to evade pressure in the pocket and make some of those off-platform throws, that's not necessarily something you want him to do, or that he has the plus arm talent to get away with. So that play in particular just really highlights that limitation in Shedeur's game when we talk about arm talent. And then the last play here we have for you is just, again, this is more so arm strength, but we're going to see it here. Again, this is like 2nd and 16 or 3rd and 16, and that ball just floats. He doesn't drive it. There's not enough zip there. You're going to see the receiver waiting on this. He's opened up the seam, but then has to stop, turn, and wait for this. Basically, you can take a picture of it. And that allows the DB to really drive on the football and break it up. If there's more zip on this, even just 1/10 of a second earlier, that pass is completed, but he doesn't necessarily have that plus drive or zip to his passes. And while, yes, arm strength in particular is overrated, in a lot of areas, football is a game played on the margins, and this play was on the margins. They were down 2 scores here. This is 2nd or 3rd and 16 near the red zone here. They're trying to keep a comeback alive, and if he has more behind this throw, it's completed, but he doesn't have that type of zip to rifle it in there, and it ends up costing them on this play. So in the margins, that can be a bit of an issue with Shedeur at the next level, is not necessarily having that plus arm strength, that plus arm talent that you see with a lot of the high-end guys. That's not necessarily his game, where it is more predicated on the footwork within the pocket, the processing, the ball placement. All of those are Shedeur's sort of tools in his tool belt, as opposed to the plus strength and talent, so to speak, that we see elsewhere. And sometimes that does show up in key situations.
All right, so we did it. We've reviewed Shedeur Sanders. We've now reviewed what most people are saying are the big 3 quarterbacks, right? Cam Ward, Shedeur, and Jackson Dart. So we're on our way, man, and we're only a couple weeks away. But one of the predictions I've been kind of keeping inside, I've been dying to make this prediction, is about the draft. Armand Membou. Okay, this guy has the size and combine performance that he's now been kind of put into this conversation of the athletic size freaks like Trent Williams and Tristan Wirfs. You've probably seen the graphics all over social media that him and Will Campbell make this kind of elite group, right? Funny thing is, Tristan Wirfs' old OC is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who pick at number 5. Yes, the Jaguars have Walker Little, they have Anton Harrison, but those 2 players ranked 31st and 50th, respectively, of all tackles last season, right? That's not what you want. Did the Jags just pick Harrison in the first round only 2 years ago? Yes, but Harrison is playing out of position, right? He's playing right tackle, but in college, he played over 99% of his snaps at left tackle. And I think he's struggling to make that shift. Meanwhile, Walker Little, who is playing left tackle, has spent a lot of time playing inside for the Jags themselves when they've struggled and needed that kind of flexibility. So I think that there's the possibility that either Harrison or Little move to the inside, but ideally it's Little to the inside, Harrison back to left, and then Armand Membou at right tackle. So I would die to make that prediction, and it turns out I found the place to do that, and that is with Pickpool, which is a new draft challenge site and app that you can predict the NFL draft and win big money. They have two options available currently where you can predict the first 32 picks of the first round or the top 10 picks of the first round, with prize money available to both. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested, head to the App Store today and download what is becoming the fastest growing draft app out there. So that is Pickpool, one word, on the App Store today, Apple App Store, and soon to be Google. And they are a sponsor of today's show, if you didn't realize that by now, but super excited about Pickpool. And then I'm just going to do quickly our typical ad for All 22. If you haven't yet, go to the App Store and download the All 22 Fantasy Football app today. All 22 is the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading to make decisions each week. So go to the App Store, download the app today, or go to all-22.com. And one more thing, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like this podcast, rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. That helps us continue to grow this so that we could review more prospects and spend more time discussing football with the likes of you. So super excited to do that. But now let's welcome in audio-only listeners. We just reviewed Shedeur Sanders on YouTube. We did a full film breakdown, 2 separate games. And now I think we need to talk about what we thought of him, right? That overall kind of profile. Before we jump into that, I'll give the high-level kind of information once I get it up in front of me. But Shedeur Sanders, everybody knows him, right? The quarterback from Jackson State that transferred to Colorado for the past 2 seasons. He's played as a starting quarterback at the D1 level now for 4 years. He's been a pretty consistently high grader, right? 79.5 his freshman year, 83.7 his sophomore year, but then 88.4 and 91.1 at Colorado the past 2 years. So very high grading for him. He's 6'2", 215 pounds, 22 years old today, but 23 by draft day. 51 big time throws over the last 2 years, only 16 turnover worthy plays, pretty low ADOT of 8.1, and a pretty poor pressure to sack rate at 20.9%. Time to throw went up from 2.89 last year to 3.0 this year. So usually we like to see that go down, but for Shedeur, that went up. Ray, I want you to kind of lead the conversation. You had made a comment earlier about me being overly negative on Shedeur, which is just never the case. I was always way too high maybe on Shedeur, but want to hear your thoughts first.
And that's why I feel like now you're too negative, because you were high and now I think you're trying to overcorrect. I like Shedeur Sanders. I think you have to really set your expectations accordingly. And usually when someone says that, it's seen as a negative. And I guess in a sense it is, depending on your outlook. But to me, Shedeur Sanders is a pretty darn high floor quarterback. He can diagnose coverages and he can react well post-snap while being a very sort of active pre-snap quarterback and really sort of a field general of sorts before the play actually begins. He has a great grasp on that. It makes sense. He has former NFL coach as his coordinator now. He's kind of been in that pro system and pro environment. So it makes a lot of sense. He does have that quarterback command, so to speak, of a huddle, of the game, of the moment, of the situation. He operates as a pro. And you see that pre and post snap and with his processing. However, to me, I don't see the high level plus attributes of a top flight quarterback. He doesn't have plus arm talent. It's fine. It's good. The ball placement is very good for the most part. And that's great. But the tools, right? He doesn't have necessarily the 5-star tools, so to speak, of a top flight NFL quarterback, but you're getting someone who to me can command an offense, can run an operation successfully, can pick up yards when it's there on the ground, and make good throws most of the time. The negatives are he doesn't always know when to just live to fight another day. When he does escape the pocket, sometimes he tries too long to extend plays when that's not his game. He doesn't necessarily have that type of athleticism to do that, and it gets him into trouble like we saw during the breakdown. He could have destroyed one of his limbs on one of those plays there because he just couldn't throw the ball away when it wasn't there. So again, he's going to run an operation successfully, smoothly. He's going to get you to a baseline level of competency and really raise the floor of your entire offense. But can he make those plus plays that separate you from the rest of the pack? And that's something where I think tools wise, you don't see that in his arsenal where he can do that on a consistent basis in the NFL. So to me, he's a high floor quarterback who I think can start for a long time. I just don't think in 2029 we're going to be sitting here making a top 6 or top 8 NFL quarterback list and he's going to be there. I don't think that's necessarily Shedeur Sanders' level of ceiling, so to speak, but he's going to be in the picture for a while, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good analysis, and I agree with everything you said, right? I think that what we're looking at is a very intelligent quarterback who can diagnose defenses, make quick reads, navigate a difficult pocket, right? Above average vision, right? Typically, he has above average footwork too. But what we see as issues, just to your point, right? They kind of go to the like, what does the high end really look like with Shedeur? And I think that's what a lot of NFL teams are probably asking themselves, and why teams like the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, the Giants are all kind of saying, shoot, like if we didn't get the guy this offseason, we're probably not getting him for another year, because those teams pick in the top 10. And it sounds like they're all going to pass on Shedeur, right? Geno Smith is now a Raider. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are now Giants. For some reason, the Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, right? Like it's like almost like they're saying, hey, like we're going to draft somebody at some point, but we need to be in a position where if we don't get somebody, until round 2 and we're not sure about that player, we have Kenny Pickett who could start some games until Deshaun Watson's healthy, and then Deshaun Watson will play and we'll be fine for a year like that, which obviously they haven't been for the last few years with Deshaun. So I don't know what's making them think that's the case now, but maybe that's a reflection of what they think of Shedeur, right? I think the throwing on your back foot as often as he does, the kind of overworking the pocket and creating more chaos for yourself than needed and missing initial reads sometimes because of that, not trusting your offensive line. I saw issues with the accuracy of his throws while he's making good decisions. Is he throwing behind people? Is he throwing high? Is he putting his receivers in dangerous positions? I saw a lot of that, right? And when we kind of start to compare him to other NFL quarterbacks, I'm like, okay, he does a lot of pre-snap things that remind me of Aaron Rodgers. His running ability is a little Aaron Rodgers-esque. His reads kind of are Aaron Rodgers-esque, but Aaron Rodgers probably has one of the nastiest like throwing motions and spirals and can throw the ball a mile in football. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers didn't have that throwing ability, if he would be anywhere close to Aaron Rodgers, right? Like that's part of his legacy. Then I think about a guy like Tua, right? And I'd say, okay, so Tua is really good at going through process and reading a field, but his arm isn't really strong. And I mean, Tua's had a lot of problems in the NFL, but at the same time, Tua's accuracy typically is really, really good, right? So is he even as good as Tua, right? And if he's not as good as Tua, what kind of quarterback are we really talking about here?
If I had the choice right now, I would take Shedeur over Tua. Now,
injuries aside,
as a prospect, I would have taken Tua, but today's Tua, I would take Shedeur. I was very high on Tua before his hip got destroyed. I thought he was a phenomenal prospect. He has not been the same as a passer since. So yes, as a pure prospect, if I'm looking at both of them heading into the NFL, it's certainly Tua. But today's Tua, I'm taking Shedeur over him. The tiebreaker would be whichever one Mike McDaniel comes with, because I don't think it's like such an enormous gap. But that's around the level of play to expect, in the sense of if you have an offense predicated on reads and timing and rhythm, Shedeur's your guy, because in contrast to someone like Cam Ward, where when we see Cam Ward off platform and doing things outside of structure, it clearly comes more naturally to Cam Ward, and he's comfortable in that environment. When you watch Shedeur, once it's off structure, off kilter, off platform, if it's not, oh, I could pick up some yardage with my legs because something opened up, he's out of his element. That's not his game. He's not that out of structure quarterback. He's not comfortable in that environment. So when you don't have that in your arsenal, I do think you need that to really be a top quarterback in the NFL. So someone like even Geno, who is not the most mobile guy, but similar vein, will pick up 6 or 7 yards on the ground if it's there. But for the most part, he's going to operate in the pocket, and he's going to make throws that are there, especially later stage Geno, where he's really evolved as a passer. That's kind of what I like in Shedeur Sanders too, where he's kind of like that, especially for coming into the NFL, kind of an advanced stage quarterback between the ears before the snap and post snap before the ball is released. In that structure, that's his environment. I think late stage Geno has evolved into that type of quarterback. And some people will take that as a negative when you say, oh, Shedeur, that's not a negative to me. Geno Smith's a darn competent quarterback in today's NFL. So but that's kind of how I see it. So whether you want to say, that's the baseline of, Tua today, Geno today, I think he's in that realm where he's kind of like back end of tier 2, maybe tier 3 of today's quarterbacks, which is fine. That's around the top half or so of starters in the NFL today in a league that doesn't have that many of them. And that is pretty darn valuable. So I think that's a good thing. People have really taken that discourse as a negative, and I think have kind of overhated on Shedeur a bit and slid his stock down a bit too far. Like, not everybody's Andrew Luck. Not everybody is Matt Stafford with their arm, and that's okay. He can win in other ways, and he's been able to do that, which is a testament to how he approaches the game of football, which bodes well to him in the pros.
Absolutely. I mean, I still really like Shedeur, but I think when I started this process, because I liked his ability pre-snap and how well he diagnoses defense, I was like, this is the quarterback I need to trust with, if I'm taking a quarterback in this draft. But I think after going deep dive into Cam Ward and a deep dive into Shedeur, I think it is obvious that Cam Ward is the better quarterback. So I rescind everything I had said before and say, I do agree that I think Cam Ward has to be QB1 at this point. And we'll go into our full kind of rankings probably next week when we diagnose some of the other quarterbacks. But that was really the debate for me, is like, I was still pretty sure that Shedeur was the better of the two. And I, to your point, I still think, Geno Smith, Teddy Bridgewater, Tua, those are good NFL quarterbacks that a lot of teams would be very happy to have that kind of quarterback on their team. And I'm talking about like prime early Teddy Bridgewater, not like backup level after injury Teddy. But I mean, I think when you're talking about Teddy and Tua, common denominator is like injuries totally derailed their careers, right? And that is a concern when you're talking about a 6'2", 215 quarterback with subpar athleticism that tries to think he's a better athlete than he is at times, right? Like, that is legit concern for me. I also think about how the quarterbacks that have his kind of skill set in the NFL right now that are doing well are the Brock Purdy's and the Tuas that sit on Kyle Shanahan offenses. So is there a situation like that exists today that's open for a quarterback like Shedeur to actually go to and thrive?
Man, that's open for a quarterback to thrive. The New Orleans Saints are not open for a quarterback to thrive. They maybe could have been, but I mean, I think stylistically he would work in that type of environment. But I think the pieces there are so far away from where they need to be. They need another year of investment on that offensive line again. Some of the interior pieces have kind of started to come around a bit there. You hope Olave's around for a while, but that's one hit away from now you don't really have your number one receiver either. The cap is a mess. It is a real thing, and it's catching up to them. You see it with that roster. It's really deteriorating. Stylistically, that'd be great, but I mean, for him personally, Shedeur, that's not where I would want him to be. I do see shades though, and I'm gonna harp on the Giants here. I see some shades while people associate Dayball and Josh Allen and so forth. Yeah, I get all that, but a lot of the things that I see what Dayball likes to do are about that rhythm and timing and play design that you just need someone to really be an executor of that system and offense, which I think Shedeur would work well in. Obviously, with New York, there's a lot of other extrinsic factors there when it comes to being a quarterback. That's magnified when it's the son of Shedeur Sanders in New York, and you have the personalities and the star power of like a Malik Neighbors also in there as well. And it's different. It is different, even if you bemoan that it is different, how much you don't want it to be. It's a different animal, but I think pure football wise, I could see Shedeur in that type of system too, and it works. So I know a lot of people have been kind of moving away from the Giants taking Shedeur at 3, and maybe they don't take him at 3 or whatever. I just think overall he could still be a pretty good fit there. I understand not wanting to pass on Hunter or Abdul Carter if he's there at 3 for the Giants, but I like the fit there too overall because there's not that many sort of Shanahan timing, rhythm, and space offenses out there that are in decent enough situations where someone like Shedeur can go and thrive early on, especially like we mentioned, he doesn't have that out of structure element to his game that you can kind of lean on when things aren't so good. Sometimes as a young player, you need that kind of feel out of structure and that playground mentality a bit to just survive while all the other pieces are coming together, while you're growing and learning and evolving as a quarterback, and as the team around you is growing and evolving and improving. Shedeur does not have that. I do think he is someone that has to be slotted in to a certain competency or baseline competent system and situation because he can't create on his own consistently. And if you ask him to do that, you're not helping him or yourself. And if you're one of those coaches that's already been around for 3 years or so and you're on the hot seat, that's not an instant, what is it like instant oatmeal, whatever. That's not a microwave solution to your offense. It's not going to work out for you.
If you had to call your shot today, where's Shedeur landing?
Oh, don't do that. I hate that. I hate that so much. So much changes between now and 2.5 weeks when the draft comes, which, by the way, it's 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, just call your shot, bro. Just call your shot. Use the pick bull.
I reserve the right to move off of Shedeur to the Giants. I have not yet done that. I have not yet seen enough to move me off of that. I understand they had breakfast with Abdul Carter. I don't know if it was at the waffle shop or what have you. I don't know where it was, but I know they had dinner with Abdul. I get it. Maybe Hunter's there. Who knows? I understand all that. I have not yet seen enough to move me off of Shedeur to the Giants. I'm going to keep saying it. Bobby's not going to like it. I'm going to keep saying it until I see enough that makes me, okay, yeah, you're right. He's not. But until I reach that point, and I have not yet, I'm still saying Shedeur to New York.
I'm saying Shedeur to New York as well, just not at 3. So I suspect that if Shedeur slides past 9, which I think he will, but if he slides past 9, I think that there's going to be a few teams that are going to try to trade back into the first round to grab him. Probably the Browns and the Giants and maybe the Jets. But I think I said
the Giants and you just said New York. So I was like, which one? Don't double dip here. Which
the Giants. The Giants. I think the Giants get it done. And, I look back at what Houston did a few years ago by drafting CJ Stroud and then also trading and drafting Will Anderson. And you can kind of see this as just kind of the reverse of that, right? It's like, okay, let's get the edge rusher who's legit and a legit elite prospect in Abdul Carter. Then let's trade back in and get the quarterback that we trust and think could be a good football player. So I agree. I think he's a good fit on the Giants. I like that. I like that offense for him. I also think the spotlight, right? He's somebody that can shine bright and wouldn't be totally taken, like he's not going to be afraid of it. He's not going to shy from it. He's going to own it. And, I think that could be a disaster, but it could also be a really good thing.
They need to get better, but they still need offensive line help. But him and Neighbors and Theo Johnson, another year under his belt, there's something there. Mondale in the slot. There's something there. You still have to get better on the offensive line. It's literally been 10 years and we're having the same conversation. While you've gotten incrementally better, you need to get more incrementally better because otherwise, I do think otherwise Shedeur could work in that system, but you need to help him out a little bit.
Agreed. All right. Well, later this week, we are hoping to get to the running back position. But for now, everybody, just thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't yet, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, and have a great rest of your day.
I'm a ghost.